Namaskar. I am Dr. Nagini Avinash Wagmare, working as Assistant Professor at Maharashtra Vidyapith. Today's our topic is related to globalization. First of all, we have to see the globalization meaning, its nature, its impact on merits and demerits of globalization, and impact of globalization on human beings. Actually, globalization is a very detailed study. So here, very briefly highlighting the topic related to globalization, and very quickly we are going to cover this topic here. So let's us see first what is the meaning of globalization. The globalization, the cultural, social, and economic changes caused by the growth of international trade, the rapid transfer of investments, capital, and the development of high-speed global communication. So here we find that the globalization not only in the economic field, but it's in every field. You take the example of cultural, social, as well as international trade and commerce, transportation, exportation, transfer of investment capital. So in every angle, the globalizations found. The globalization referred to a process still ongoing through which the world has in many respects been becoming a single place. Globalization has in one way or another encompassed energy sphere of social life. Although the considerable groundwork for globalization was laid in earlier times and fully fledged trend dates roughly from 1960. Many accounts of globalization suffer from oversimplification, exaggerations, and wishful thinking. Today, international society is a global social framework of shared norms and value based on state sovereignty. An important manifestation of that social framework is the UN Charter. Then the globalization has changed forms of many with the spread of trans-border currencies, distinguished separate territorial denominations, digital cash, and global credit card. For example, if you take today's globalization taken shape, in earlier while we go to the bank, we stand a long time and take the cash and submit our cash to them. Then we have to transfer of money, transaction monies we find there. But because of globalization, because of easy accessible of net, uh, internet banking and other things, easily we have to do this work. Even you are sit at home or in your own place or you go to anywhere in the world. So this is the one globalization found. Then global trade and finance have spread unevenly between different regions and different circles of people. So this is also one of the drastic changes found in this today's globalized world. Even the 21st century also called as a scientific era, globalization era. So in this era also, when we are to market global trade and market or financing, it's not limited to particular place or state or nations. It all over the world as well as various type of people also involved in this globalization. We not only take the example of only exam. Economics for trade and commerce purpose, they are globalized. No, you take the social cultural exchange of the people, faculty exchange of the people, even the marketing things, even the some industry also, many big industries, even take the example film industry also. So these type of things, globalization we find there. Then naturally the industrialized first world contributes the lion's share. So it dominates IMF policy, International Monetary Fund. A sister of the International Monetary Fund is the World Bank, which makes low interest loans to developing countries. Both help countries in need, not but only if they practice assertiveness and hold down inflation. Some poor countries say these demands are impossible and denounce the International Monetary Funds and World Bank. Anti-globalize protest the IMF and World Bank and want to abolish them. Globalization started in 19th century, decline beginning with the World War I, and resumed after World War II. Before World War I, it was British led. After World War II, it is US led. Because before World War, we know in the world the supremacy of this uh, British, France, Italy. But after World War, we find that US also leading, US only, even USSR and US both are there. But later on, we found after Second World War, only USA leading this one. So exports as a percentage of the world's GDP climbed from 8% 1950 to 28% in 2000. So this is the differences we find in this globalization time. Then what were the causes of this globalization? That is also important to study. American corporations invested heavily in West European after the war, setting the style for transnational, probably a better name than multinational, finds that it were delighted to manufacture sell anywhere. Tariff barriers full until they were irrelevant pushed by GATT, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. Tariffs are at all-time low. Transportation became very cheap. Thanks to containerization, it can be cheaper to ship across the ocean than across the country. Communication became instantaneous cheap. International phone calls, fax, now emails and internet make your contacts around the world seem like they are next door. Even the capital flowed across national borders. International banking expanded, making transfers and loans quick and easy. Wages in the first world got so high, they persuaded managers to look for lower cost places to set up shop, taxes for medical insurance, pensions, unemployment, and welfare. So we not say that globalization taken in a single day. Globalization took place because of many causes. One is America's trade policy. Then second one is the GATT. Then third one is the transportation became very cheap. In earlier, the system was totally different. One. Then cheaper ship across the world we find in the globalization. Again, the communication became very cheap. See, I am here today at home. I can take the accession of internet and recording to this lecture. So it is at home you can, even you can use fax, emails, internet facilities, even phone also. These are even you go to the village level, you go to the local level, you go to the small regional places. There also, even you go to the taluka place, local to uh, global world purpose. Everyone use the phone, the cell phones. Now they are texting the messages. They are marketing. They are educationally things. This communication became cheap. Though people, it connected the people. Maybe high, low, rich, poor. Maybe to considering anything. It's brought the people near and near. So it is the one cause the globalization took place. Then capital flowed across national borders. International banking expanded, even transportation, loans facilities also there. So these are the few reasons the globalization. Even sometime the people wanted to job, they go to the Western countries, European countries, out of Maharashtra, out of Pune, out of India. They go because of the for their what we say, getting the job, earning the money and other things. So these type of things we find in our in the world. The nature of the globalization. What was its nature? Globalization, both negative and positive effect of human life. Globalization refers to a process still ongoing through which the world has in many respects been becoming a single place. So in the earlier what happened, this person belonged to the India, this person belonged to the Australia, this person belonged to the Japan, this person in some other places. Because of global connection, because of communication, transportation, easy accession of the facilities, it's brought the human being in a one particular place. Then it's a continuous process. Globalization has in one way or another impacts energy sphere of social life also. We became very social through social media also, for social transportation also. Globalization brought the people in a very near to each other. Then, although the considerable groundwork for globalization was laid in earlier times, the fully fledged trend dates 1960. Many accounts of globalization suffer from oversimplification, exaggerations, and wishful thinking. Today, international society is a global social framework of shared norms and values based on state sovereignty. An important manifestation of that social framework is the UN Charter. Then economic liberalization. In general, a liberalization refers to a relaxation of previous government restriction, usually in areas of social or economic policy. Britannica Encyclopedia stated that most often the term is used to refer to economic liberalization, especially trade liberalization or capital market liberalization. So here liberalization and privatization, liberalization, democratization, structural development of the Indian economy and liberalization agriculture. Fire plan of Nehru also mentioned that the economic liberalization is necessary for growth of the India. Borrowing capital in intensive projects, electric power, irrigation, infrastructure, borrowing from foreign sources. India made various agreements with International Monetary Fund and other organizations and liberalization. Then process of globalization. What was the process of globalization? International Monetary Fund defines the globalization as the growing economic interdependence of countries worldwide through increasing volume and variety of cross-border transactions in goods and services. Exchange of their goods and services. Whatever products here we and sell to other countries, whatever products they sell to us. Import and exports are going on. Then free international capital flows also in our country. Whatever goods are available, produced in India, we export those things. Whatever not available here, we import those things to our countries. And more rapid and widespread diffusion of technology. Through technology also, we have to came nearer to each other in every field. Then U.S.A and globalization. Globalization is a process of worldwide coordination of political, economic, social, scientific, and cultural life of the people, and successfully aims at unifying them at physical, psychological levels. According to political economic thinkers, globalization is equated with Americanization because financial institutions like the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, GATT, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, work under American pressure. So most of the people agree that means they are stating that what is globalization? Globalization means Americanization. Americanization means globalization. They are saying these things. The problems of the greenhouse effect, the ozone layer depletion, disposal of nuclear waste, poverty, unemployment, malnutrition, terrorism, and other such problems are bringing the countries of the world together. Because the unemployment, malnutrition, poverty, this problem not only created in India, not only existing in India, Nepal, Japan, and other places. These problems we find all over the world. So the policymakers, politicians, and economists, they come near and sit and they talk about how to solve these problems in the world to secure their nation and to provide things to the people and to help the people. The organization like OBIC, ASEAN, SAARC, European Union, G15, non-alignment movement have promoted the spirit of internationalization. So these all things we find in the globalization. Then UNO and its specialized agencies. On 11 September 1990, US President George Bush presented the concept of New World Order, in which the nations of the world will live in prosperity and have cordial relation with one another. New World Order. The rule of law governs the conduct of nations and in which accreditable UN can use peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and the vision of the UN uh, founder. Bush New World Order contains the following points. The object of building a new world order is to achieve peace, security, freedom, and the rule of law in the world. It is necessary to form a partnership with elite countries to equally share both of past and commitments to deter aggression and to achieve stability, prosperity, and peace. The event to be given to a role in it, the non-alignment movement, the new world order must be based on American values and habits. The new world order, in short, India, I have mentioned NUW, the non-world new world order pays more attention to the role big and developed nation instead of developing countries. Then the shock of the depression of World War I and made the major trading countries turn from floating to fixed exchange rates with the Bretton Woods Agreement 1994. Oil plays a mammoth and sometimes destabilizing role in US and world economy. Through World War II, the United States was the world's biggest oil keeping world. Oil prices low. In response, American built energy inefficient cars, homes, suburbs, and industry. Our main trading partners try to avoid oil addiction by taxing oil heavily and encouraging energy efficiency. The International Monetary Fund was established based on rules to keep exchange rates stable and help countries pay their international debts. IMF headquarters is in Washington, but most countries are members. Funds come from pool of members countries' contributions. Then World Bank. This also played very important role in the globalization time. Even it's play major role. Human development purpose, agriculture and rural development purpose, even education here. This bank help us. Then environmental protection purpose also. Then roads, electricity, governance, anti-corruption, legal, industry development. For that purpose, the World Bank help us a lot. Then international monetary funds take the for balance of payment, provide technical assistance. Then the fund service checked by this one. Then World Trade Organization, it is an international multi-organization. It increases the international trade and commerce. It's negotiation with one nation to another nation for exchange of trade and commerce for good governing of the trade among the nations without any economic crisis. The goal is to help producers of goods and services, exporters and importers to conduct their business in a well manner, to promote free trade and stimulate economic growth in the world. It's not only working for developing countries, it's also work for developed countries and it's trying to balance in the world. Then laissez-faire and multinational corporations. Laissez-faire means the free market, free government capital, trade of goods and trade in services without tariffs or other trade barriers between the countries. Then corporations, multinational corporations. Some examples are Cadbury, Coca-Cola, Ford, Honda, SCDC, Infosys, McDonald's, Nokia, Philips, Sony, etc. Workflow improves over the international relations and play important role in globalization. Today also you take the Coca-Cola, one example. We not want to find Coca-Cola in our regional area or in the big cities or in the world. It's also we found in the village level also. Take the example Cadbury also, McDonald's also, Sony also, Infosys working for the development of the others also. So because of globalization, these all things are uh, helpful to the human development, growth of the economic and people near came and exchanging their thoughts and works also. Then other non-government organizations also played important role in the globalization. The non-government organization mainly work for humanitarian issues, and developmental aid and sustainable development. It is an organization that is not part of government and is not funded by the state. It's an international Red Cross, public, private, national and international, improving the natural environment observes found in the in the globalization. So this non-governmental organization mainly helpful to the humanitarian issues, whatever problems come in front of the people, they have to solve with the cooperation of the other organizations, even public, private, national and international level also. And they always wanted to protect the nature, environment, and fight for the human rights and bring all of human people in a one platform. Welfare of all is the main objective of these non-government organizations. Then what is the significance of the globalization? That is also one of the important thing we have to study. Four fundamental forms of capital movement we find throughout the global economy. First, globalization. These are four important capital flows are human capital, that is immigration, migration, uh, emigration, deportations. Then financial capital, aid, equity, debt, credit, and lending, etc. Then resource capital, energy, metals, minerals. Then power capital, security forces, alliance, armed forces, etc. So in the human capital, we found that in the corona time also, some people are migrate, some people are immigrate. Even in the time of Russian war time also, we find that some people are migrated to other places. Even financial capital, we found that so many financial loss. If take the example Russia and Ukraine war, the people left their houses and they became they went to other places. Then resource related, we while every nation we not find they are independent in this globalization world. From home, from primary local level to global level, all are interdependence. One nation if it say I am independent in the world, it is not possible in this globalized world for any reason, for water purpose, for oil purpose, for trade, commerce purpose, even for economic, for capital, for cultural, for exchange of their views, their policies. You could not explain in a one word the nation are independent. Even big contacts related political way, marketing, army, emissions, weapons, even a nuclear rocket, um, even producing any vehicle, producing any my big machines in the world or in India, you have to exchange some, you have to bring materials from the other nation, other states. So in this globalization is not a in a, we are not separated from globalization in a simple language. So it's a interdependency, not independent. In the our own state, our own local level, our own here we are independent. But when it comes to doing things with other nation, we are interdependency is there. Then what are the positive effects of this globalization? Formation of NGOs, global cultural ties, new ideas and fashion through trade, travel, and media around the globe at lightning speed. Because in the previous time, what happened because of some things, we are limited to our own culture, our own trade, and our own things are good, we are considering. But because of globalization, cultural exchange are there, new ideas are exchange are there. Today, the fashion is not limited to only India or China or Japan or Nepal or America. You take the clothes, makeup of people, costumes, things, their way of living or their style. To hold these things, globalized man is found in everywhere, in local to world level. Even fashion brought people near to there. Even cultural ties, even NGO doing a good work for to bring the people in a one platform, and media also playing a very important role. Whatever manufactured in some other countries through media, through newspaper, through TV channels, we easily get that information. Even in the news also, even newspaper also. So today the world became as a global village, because how in the village people know each other, his name, his place, his workplace, his family members, his work, his property, and other things. So today in the globalized world, world became as a global village. How easily we communicate one another in the village through phone, through internet, through mail, through videos, or through other things. We are easily connected one another. We never think that is the person, my friend is in America, my friend is in Japan, my friend is in England. If you text a message, give a call, and send a mail, they easily reply that one. So people are very, world became as a one of the global village in this time. Then trade benefits, yes, because of this also it's not limited to one particular time. Trade benefit to one and all. The markets are open to all. You can exchange your goods to anywhere in the world and get the profit. Then what are the negative effects of this globalization? It destruction of countries' need to understand environment. Because of another means, while we are finding the good points, we have also look down this negative points of the globalization. Here we find that whatever our native environment is, because of industry producing, establishment of industry, cut our trees, soil also destruction one. So environment destruction found is the one bad impact of the globalization. Another loss of poor countries in the globalization, in the competition. The big nations became day by day big and a strong one, and the poor countries day by day become poor one. It's one of the negative effect of globalization. Then lack of labor rights in many countries. In the developing countries, they are harassed by the developing countries, not given a correct wages, sufficient wages to these laborers. That is also one more uh, negative effect of globalization. Then globalization also leads to exploitation of millions of workers in the countries that do not give workers rights to organize. Then increasing autonomy and strength of corporate entities increasingly shapes that politics policy of nation states. That is also one more things we find in this globalization. Then impact of globalization, positive sides, again, access to technology, internet, mobile telephone, growth of international trade, that is GATT and World Trade Organization, then increasing in production, multinational companies, employment opportunities in various companies to people, that is there, then flow of foreign capital available in the world. Then another negative impact is inequality within the country, China and India. Then financial instability also find. Then impact of workers, there is no job security for the employees. If the time limit they have given, they work, and after the project is over, they say now we don't need you. They have to leave the job. So there is negative impact of the globalization I also find. Then impact on farmers, facing a lot of trade from global markets, competitions, etc. Basically in the village level, the farmer producing things and he sell there, but the mediator who purchased those things and he sold those things to international market, the mediator get the more profit than the real farmer. So that is the negative impact of this globalization one. Then domination of multinational companies, they exploit the cheap labor and natural resources in most countries like India also. Pay to national sovereignty, WPA, UNO, etc. So these are the in the globalization. In simply we say both negative and positive impact of the globalization we find from beginning to till today. Also, we have to balance those things. We have to check the globalization how much its impact in a good and negative way. So always pick up the positive things, and as possible as we have to drop the negatives and overcome those things and maintain the good balance in the world. So these are the few reference book you refer for more detail of globalization. Yogendra K. Globalization Agriculture Crisis in India. Ganekar V.V. Globalization Farmers India Hope Banks. Then Suranjan Das Suranjan Kashmir and Sindh. Then Sinha Sushil Kumar Globalization of Indian Broadcasting. Then Yadav Ravi Prakash Globalization and the Indian Economy. Interest perspective in political theory, Kulkarni Mangesh. Then K.C. Kulkarni's Globalization Human Geography. Then Balakrishna's Globalization and the Changing Role of the State. These are the few reference books you can refer for globalization. So thank